The gathering was crowded and noisy, filled with pulsing music, careless laughter, and people behaving as though joy came without effort. I stayed near the perimeter of the room, gripping a glass I never lifted to my lips when my eyes found her. My wife was pressed close to another man, her arms around him, her soft laughter settling easily as her head leaned against his shoulder, like it naturally belonged there. The sight didn't feel real, as if time itself had stalled around that moment. I didn't approach them. I didn't stand there frozen either. I watched just long enough to recognize this wasn't coincidence or confusion. What I saw was ease, familiarity, an intention, a decision. Something inside me went completely quiet. There was no rush of fury, no urge to make a scene. I turned calmly and headed for the door without saying anything to anyone. No one stopped me. No one seemed to notice, or so I believed. When I stepped outside, the night air wrapped around me, heavier than the packed room I'd just left. I paused, briefly, hearing the music leak faintly through the closed doors, then continued toward my car. I didn't check my phone. I didn't replay the moment in my head. I drove slowly, eyes fixed on the road, telling myself that leaving without noise was the cleanest conclusion. I convinced myself that silence would preserve my dignity and spare everyone unnecessary chaos. At home, I sat alone in the darkness and allowed the night to pass without searching for answers or forming questions. What I didn't realize was that my absence had already been noticed. Back at the party, people began asking where I had gone. Someone mentioned seeing me leave on my own. Another noticed the empty spot where I had been standing. My wife glanced around casually at first. Then, with growing uncertainty, silence doesn't disappear when you walk away. Sometimes it trails behind you and grows louder in your absence. Within minutes, murmurs replaced laughter. My wife stepped away from the dance floor, scanning the room while pretending not to care. The man beside her asked what was wrong. She brushed it off, saying I probably went home early. Though the confidence in her voice cracked, friends began, sensing an unease that hadn't been there before. Someone wondered why I hadn't said goodbye. Another asked if I was upset. Quiet questions multiplied. My absence disrupted the atmosphere more than any argument could have. People started connecting details they had ignored all evening. The image of her wrapped in another man's arms no longer felt innocent once paired. With my quiet departure, the music kept playing, but the conversation shifted. Smiles became strained. She tried calling me. I didn't answer. That unanswered call unsettled her more than anger ever could. Silence strips away context. Without it, people are left to draw their own conclusions, and those rarely lead anywhere comfortable. By the time the night ended, nothing felt celebratory anymore. Guests left early, conversations trailing off unfinished. My wife never laughed. Again that night, she spent hours explaining, justifying, and denying things no one had directly accused her of. That alone spoke volumes. The next morning, messages from mutual friends filled my phone, asking if I was all right. I replied calmly that I was fine. That response confused them. They had expected fury or heartbreak, not certainty. Rumors spread that something serious had happened, even though no one could clearly say what. When my wife finally returned home, she was shaken and defensive, demanding to know why I had left without a word. I told her, evenly, that I didn't need to explain what I had witnessed. Understanding reached her slowly. My silence hadn't avoided confrontation. It had exposed it, forcing her to face consequences she never imagined would arrive so quietly. In the days that followed, tension rippled through our social circle. Friends avoided taking sides, but they couldn't erase what they had seen. My wife attempted to manage the narrative, insisting nothing inappropriate had occurred. But silence doesn't support rewritten stories. It erodes them. People began recalling details they had once dismissed. The way she leaned in, how long the dance lasted, my quiet exit. I didn't confront anyone or share my version. I didn't need to. Absence had become proof. She accused me of humiliating her by leaving. I told her that embarrassment comes from choices, not responses. That answer frightened her. She realized I wasn't fighting to be understood. I was finished explaining. Control relies on reaction, and I had withdrawn mine entirely. That shift unsettled everyone. Without conflict, there was nothing to resolve, only truth, sitting uncomfortably where celebration had once been planned. Silence had changed the balance, and no one could reverse it. Weeks passed, and the weight of it all grew heavier. Invitations stopped. Friends spoke carefully round us. The man from the party disappeared from conversations entirely. My wife grew restless and uncertain, sensing something irreversible had taken place. She asked if I intended to leave her. I told her I was deciding what honesty required. That answer offered her no comfort. I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting myself. The calm I carried disturbed her more than rage ever could. She realized she couldn't argue with silence or negotiate with distance. My life continued steadily: work, routine, peace. Hers felt unstable. The image she relied on had cracked. People stopped asking me what had happened. They assumed. Silence invites interpretation, and interpretation rarely favors those hiding behind laughter. I learned that leaving quietly isn't avoidance. Sometimes it's the loudest declaration you can make without speaking. Eventually, she tried to apologize, choosing her words carefully, watching for my reaction. I listened once, then told her that apologies don't erase moments that reveal truth. That truth had already been seen. She asked why I hadn't confronted her publicly. I told her confrontation would have given her room to deny. Silence gave her nowhere to hide. That realization unsettled her deeply later. Friends admitted that my departure changed how they viewed everything. They recognized how often silence had protected discomfort for everyone involved. My quiet exit demanded accountability without accusation. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear. The marriage I believed in ended the moment I chose to walk away calmly. Everything after that was consequence, not choice. I stopped waiting for closure, discussions, or explanations. Closure arrived the instant I trusted my own eyes and chose dignity over spectacle. Silence didn't break me. It rebuilt me slowly, permanently, without witnesses, applause, or validation. Looking back, that night reshaped how I understood strength. Strength isn't shouting, exposing, or demanding answers. Sometimes it's leaving quietly and allowing reality to unfold on its own. My silent exit set events in motion no one expected because it removed comfort, control, and denial all at once. The party faded from memory, but its aftermath did not. I didn't announce my boundaries, I lived them. People remembered my absence more than the dance itself. I learned that silence, when chosen deliberately, carries a weight no argument can rival. It doesn't plead for attention, it commands reflection. Walking away without a word wasn't surrender, it was alignment. And once aligned, I no longer needed explanations, witnesses, or approval. What followed wasn't chaos. It was clarity arriving late for those who believed laughter could conceal everything.